All right, Matt. So thanks for speaking to us, man. This is long, long overdue. And I felt like in the last couple of weeks, we went from trying to figure out which vegan restaurant we should link up at when the world is back to normal to you being splattered all over my headlines with that, positive coronavirus test. I know it's been a crazy 2 weeks. So just what was that like for you? And, how did you deal with it?
Yeah, it was a crazy few days. Obviously, looking forward to going back training and seeing the boys. Obviously, still a bit worried about how things are going to pan out. With the pandemic, etc. But I was just obviously looking forward. Went in for the testing, and then obviously being told the next day that I tested positive was a big shock to me because I didn't have any symptoms. I felt fine in myself. Felt really good actually. Been cracking on with my training program at home and felt really good. So it was a big shock. And then obviously the next day, I made a statement, to just come out and say that I was fine, more to kind of reassure people because my phone was going crazy as soon as it got announced that there was one player and they narrowed down the club to Watford. It was going crazy. There was a witch hunt to see who it was, and there was only so many people I could ignore before they start putting two and two together, and so I thought it was best to come out and just to speak about it. And obviously then the next week I tested negative, and I've been able to get back to training and link up with the boys and get back to it.
And then what was the process just after that, of course, with your family, keeping them safe too? Because like you said, it just came kind of out of left field, absolute shock, and you didn't even have any symptoms whatsoever.
Yeah, so obviously my family went through, that to isolate with me, etc. But I managed to get them tested, and they were all fine. Later found out, I had to do the antibody test, etc. as well, and turns out I had the antibodies as well. So it's more likely that it was still just lingering in my system, that I had it at some point before, maybe. That could have been a likely explanation, but like I said, I hadn't gone anywhere in lockdown. I was strict with what I was doing. I was just going outside to run and do my training, etc. And I was pretty much just staying inside and being a homeschool teacher to my kids. So like I said, it kind of raised more questions for me than answers, So but I'm glad I've come out the other side of that now and just back in training and positive about things going forward.
I was going to say, because I know you're a homebody, so I was quite surprised too when I've said that, because I know we've tried to draw you out a couple of times, but it's okay, we'll get there eventually. Happy that everything is definitely somewhat back to normal, I suppose, for you. Back in training, I think it was just this week, right? So what was that like, managing to shake off some of the rust and see your boys again?
Yeah, like I mean, it's good to see the boys. You miss the banter every day, and coming in and enjoying just being around each other. There's always going to be a bit of rust, with the ball, etc. But all the boys look good physically. Been doing all their training away from from the training ground and stuff. And and I think just looking to crack on and making the best of the situation, because we know it's very different to the situation we've been in and before. So I think just trying to make sure obviously everyone's safe, and just trying to enjoy, the day-to-day training and the day-to-day work.
And then I know, of course, training now is still a bit different. There's still certain precautionary methods that you have to follow. So, what did you find probably the most difficult part of it that you had to adjust to?
I'm quite fortunate because I have a lot of equipment at home anyway, and I've invested in different things, so I've got my little gym at home, and I could manage to actually train properly when I was at home. And so I didn't find anything difficult. It was more of a challenge to get all the stuff in, but I embraced it, I enjoyed it. Took the kids on some of the stuff that I was doing as well, like the bleep test and at home, and which they didn't enjoy too much. But yeah, like I said, just trying to make the best out of the situation and stay positive, because it's uncharted territory for everyone. And just trying to make sure I was ready as possible for the day when we got told we were coming back into training, because obviously as the weeks went on, it looked more likely that the season was going to pick up again.
A lot of people have either been worried about the Premier League starting, you know, in just about 2 weeks now. I know Troy, of course, has expressed it a number of times. Others kind of commend it for being that proactive, for constantly trying to, you know, come back on a date. And we've seen how in the Bundesliga so far it has been working. So how did you feel all about that, especially, you know, after you had that scare with the coronavirus positive test?
Yeah, listen, I think everyone was worried at first. You know, you're being told you can't go out your house, you have to stay 2 meters away from everyone everywhere, and then all of a sudden they're saying, you know, you're going to be back playing football in a couple of weeks and tackling and heading each other. So you're kind of thinking, you know, how are we going to get from, you know, A to B? But as it's gone on, you know, I understand all the worries, etc. We've all had them. We've all got, you know, families at home and people that, you know, you want to protect. So you just want to make sure that the environment is as safe as possible. And, you know, the club's been brilliant with us and the measures they've taken to make sure everyone's completely safe and happy. And, you know, end of the day, that's all they can do. And then it's up to the individual whether, you know, they feel it's right for them to come back and train, and that they feel it's safe enough to play. And, you know, so far, you know, I mean, I'm sure you can see on the Watford socials and that everyone's in good spirits and obviously looking forward to just seeing how it progresses. And even now, you know, there's probably uncertainty with, you know, how you're going to get to a match day, making sure all the procedures are safe, you know, going through there as well. So, but all you can do is just take it one step at a time. And, you know, that's the way we've approached it, and just being positive about that. And
you 100% feel safe enough and ready to actually go out there and play a full 90, maybe?
Well, like I said, I can only take it one step at a time. You know, I haven't seen what it's like or what it will be like on a match day, you know, traveling to stadiums, etc. But definitely, you know, at the moment in a training ground facility, and, you know, going to and from there, and, you know, how we're being tested. I mean, I've been very happy with how things have been so far. And like I said, you can only take it one step at a time. And I'm sure, you know, as the weeks go on, the government guidelines will change as well, and that will probably make everyone feel a little bit more comfortable.
And I know, of course, we're all excited to have football back, and I guess it's not quite football as we know it, as everyone's been saying. We've seen in the Bundesliga, of course, with the no fans. You know, we got to speak to Leon Bailey, who you'd, of course, know quite well, and I know quite well, just the other day. And he said, yeah, you know, the no fans thing is not really for him, but at least obviously football is back. Some have said it kind of takes away the whole home advantage, so to speak, which you kind of want now that it's getting down to the wire. How do you see it, especially, and thoughts on the fact that they might bring in FIFA sounds and all that kind of stuff, neutral venues? What works for you and what doesn't?
No, I'm not a fan of the neutral venues, if I'm honest. You know, if you're, you know, we're having to go to Anfield away, and obviously it's a tough place to go. You know, playing teams that are at the top, when they've got packed stadiums, you want all the other teams who are, you know, in the relegation battle with us to have to face that as well. You know, that's what makes it fair. So the stadium's not being full, obviously, it's not ideal, but, you know, at the moment, it seems like the only way it can go forward. But like I said, you know, you can only take it one step at a time. I don't know about the FIFA sounds. I haven't heard about that. I've obviously seen some where there's like, you know, where they've got like boards where electronic pictures of people come up and stuff like that. I mean, it's a bit crazy as well. So look, who knows what there'll be on a match day. You know, technology is always improving, but, you know, safety is paramount, and as long as everyone's safe and comfortable, then I'm sure we're just going to have to get on with it and obviously finish the season strongly.
And then going in now, what kind of, mentally speaking, because of course we know you're doing everything physically and you can prep, I suppose, physically for it, but getting back to the Premier League now, you have Leicester. That would be the first match back. Probably many would say not an easy match, knowing exactly the quality that Leicester do possess. How do you mentally prepare for that match? And I suppose just the scrap on a whole, because you aren't bottom of the league anymore, still a bit close to the relegation zone for comfort, I'm sure. So how do you mentally just get through that?
Listen, I mean, we're in a relegation scrap. You know, we've got no illusions as to, you know, we're out on goal difference at the moment, and you know, we know that is the case, and it's going to come down to the wire. We're going to need to perform in every single game, and every game's a cup final, and that's the only way we can approach it. And you know, I'm sure you've heard that said many a times, but I've been in enough, you know, relegation battles in my career to know that is how you need to approach every game. I'm confident of us playing any team in the league. You know, we showed that against Liverpool already, and you know, United at home as well. We had a good performance. You know, I think, especially at home, you know, we've made it a real tough place for other teams to come. We won't have our home fans there, which will be obviously something that will be missing for us. But you know, we're just going to have to perform, you know, and turn it up an extra notch. And it's going to be a tough team. Leicester are always hard to play against. Throughout my entire career, they've always, you know, been a good side. And Brendan Rodgers is top manager as well. So we're going to be expecting a tough game. We know it's going to be like that. But like I said, it's 9 cup finals to the end of the season.
All right. And then, I mean, finally, before we just wrap, just a thing that we have to, I suppose, touch on, which is, you know, the protests that we see going on in the USA following the killing of George Floyd. But it's kind of prompted a whole other movement. And I know that racism is something that I've seen you yourself tackle as well and stand up for and speak out about. You know, Troy has done that too, in terms of when you guys shared some unsavory DMs, to say the least, that you showed. What do you make of the fact that now the football world, we've seen like Jadon Sancho, Weston McKennie, a couple of the players in the Bundesliga, Premier League players here and clubs actively taking a stance against it? Do you feel like now there's some more togetherness in this battle, or do you still feel that there's still a long way to go?
I can definitely see, you know, there's a lot more unity in this battle, and it is something that, you know, we've, in the UK, although you know, it's not the States, you see how the UK people and how we're standing up together. You know, with everyone in the States who are protesting. There's protests in England, in London, all across England actually, and other places in Europe as well. And I think it's a worldwide issue. You know, there are a lot of similarities in the UK that mirror the States, and that's why you know, when, you know, the tragic murder of George Floyd come out and everyone's seeing the videos, you know, it hurts, you feel it, you know, as a black person, you know, the incidents that you've had in your life, and, you know, it comes back to you and it hurts, you know. And I think, you know, now is the time for us to come together and fight together, for, you know, because the stuff my dad told me growing up, you know, you're gonna have to work twice as hard, you know, to get to the same place as your white friends. Is conversations I'm having with my kids now, and I don't want that for them. You know, I want it to be a level playing field. I want them to have the same opportunities growing up, you know, and to be rewarded for their hard work. And the only way that it's gonna happen is, you know, by showing unity and coming together. And I think it's brilliant that a lot of, you know, players and sports people and celebrities and, you know, just everyone just coming together. And that's what it's going to need to be. And I know there's, especially, you know, in the UK, you know, around football, there's been a lot of people who have been campaigning and working hard, you know, even, you know, before these protests, they've been putting in hard work and graft to try and change things, you know, for the future. And, you know, obviously those people have to take a lot of credit for themselves as well. And it's a continuous battle, you know, we're going to have to keep fighting. You know, I'm sure long after my career's done, you know, especially in football. And yeah, it's definitely a worldwide issue that we can only tackle together.
And with that coming together, I know finally just one of the things that was pointed out was that at least now something that's different is people see more white people actively speaking out about this, or finally getting comfortable enough to speak out about this and actually join the fight. Is that something that you think was missing and that we probably need more of?
Yeah, for sure. And I understand that maybe it is uncomfortable at first. It's uncomfortable to have those conversations, but they're conversations that need to be had because, you know, this is a daily reality for Black people all over the world. You know, that the daily injustices that you're fighting against, and it needs, you know, backing by everyone. So like I said, it may be uncomfortable. You know, you may not want to speak out about it, but there's always something you can do. So as long as you're willing to take action, you know, and support, then I'm all for it.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.